Oh boy, you should have known that when Tim Sweeney was making the news, I was gonna be all over that shit like Lowry salt on a bowl of rice, my boy. Fuck you, Lowry salt on white rice is actually really good. It's a nice quick little snack. But the other day, you might have heard something about how Steam is being hit with this giant lawsuit, and oh goodness, Steam's a monopoly, and we're just doing this stupid song and dance again of people who don't actually understand what monopolies are or how the PC gaming space operates are now trying to act like they do understand that, and because Steam makes a lot of money, it has to be a monopoly, and it's not just this meme over and over and over and over again for the rest of time, because that's really all this is. And I do love how many people are talking about this, oh, $900 million lawsuit that Steam's getting hit with, and no one has actually really looked into where the lawsuit's coming from or who's even pushing it. So I'll do that for you for a second before we get into the Tim Sweeney nonsense. But, quote, Valve faces a $900 million lawsuit in the UK over Steam pricing and commissions. The lawsuit claims Valve abused its Steam monopoly to impose unfair prices. This report, I believe it's from Tom's Hardware. I forget where I got the screenshots from. You can check if you really care that much. It doesn't super matter. I'm a professional YouTuber. Don't I do my research so great? But in case it was unclear where this is coming from, the lawsuit was raised by Vicky Shotbolt. That is such a fake name. Are you kidding me? Shotbolt? That's like if J.K. Rowling was making a fucking crime movie. Vicky Shotbolt? Fucking Richard Castle-ass character name, Vicky Shotbolt. Are you kidding me? Nikki Heat, Derek Storm, and now Vicky Shotbolt. What the... What timeline are we in right now? But who is Vicky Shotbolt? Well, she's a fucking activist and the founder and CEO of Parent Zone. Which, I mean, yeah, that sounds to me like the perfect kind of person who understands the gaming industry and is definitely doing this for the right reasons and definitely understands the pros and cons of what they're even proposing. This totally seems like a great representative of the gaming industry, Vicky Shotbolt of Parent Zone. Quote, the lawsuit instigated by Shotbolt claims that Valve is prohibiting games sold on its Steam platform from being sold through other distribution platforms that might charge less for the same games. This is literally not true. Valve is also being charged for allegedly imposing anti-steering provisions based on its in-game purchasing model, where PC game add-ons or DLC only work through Steam if the base game was purchased through Steam. Which, first of all, yeah, if you buy the base game on Steam, of course the Steam version is going to want you to buy the DLC on Steam as well. But also, second of all, as anyone who has used Steam to any capacity will tell you, this isn't even true either. You can absolutely get add-ons for Steam games from places other than Steam. Finally, Valve is being charged for charging customers too much based on excessive commission charges. Because when I think of Valve, I think of a company that charges me too much for things. So far, Valve has argued against the legitimacy of this lawsuit, good, claiming that Shotbolt has not provided adequate methodology for determining Valve's effective commission charge, which is true. She hasn't. She's done nothing. She's just an activist trying to hoist herself up on other people's success. That's all this is. But the real reason I want to talk about all this is because of a little arc that happened here. In response to the Dexerto post, Ryan Fleury says, games have never been cheaper, and if you could even claim that Valve has a monopoly on game distribution, they don't. They are in that position because they've done an excellent job providing good and often free services to players. He continues, if Valve's 30% transaction fee is so outrageous, it's not, then others can simply provide alternatives and charge less. If players still don't want those alternatives, it's for a reason. The higher prices they see are worthwhile for the various services involved, so the alternatives need to also compete on quality. That isn't an unlawful monopoly, that is a competitive service provided at an acceptable rate for developers and players alike. A competitor can undercut that price, but they have to actually do a good job providing an alternative. It is completely absurd to involve the government to punish Valve. And this is where the going gets juicy, because none other than Tim Sweeney has entered the chat. Tim Sweeney is the CEO of Epic Games. He is one of the loudest critics of Steam for basically no reason. He has every desire to monopolize the PC gaming sphere, and he has no interest in actually providing his own consumers with a half-decent product, which is why the Epic Games Store is still an overpriced, buggy piece of trash. After, what, 7 years on the market? 7 years of examples being set by other storefronts, and you can't even match what other people are doing? I did like this little interaction the other day, where Tim Sweeney made a tweet for Epic Games Store enthusiasts, and then got ratioed to hell and back with a fucking meme. The Epic Game Store is a complete joke, and people like me have been saying for years now that Tim Sweeney continues to leave it as a joke because he has no idea how the gaming space actually works. He just wants to profit off of it, and the easiest way to profit off of it is to try and find ways to turn the internet against the main competitor. It's a lot easier for him to just yell about things than it is to actually make his service better, and also he's backed himself into a corner because at this point, if he did make his service better, if he did make EGS an actual Steam competitor by implementing things about Steam that people liked, that would be him admitting defeat. He's been putting his feet in the sand here. For years now, Tim Sweeney has insisted that the only reason Valve exists at the top of the PC gaming space, the only reason for that is because it's a monopoly. Not because his service is dog shit, not because he refuses to give people what they want, but it's only because Steam is a monopoly. So if he implements the things about Steam that people like, or if he listens to feedback on EGS, that's him admitting that it's not a monopoly. So he can't do that. And that's why EGS continues to lose hundreds of millions of dollars a year, because of this complete twat nugget's hubris. How many people have lost their jobs because Epic can't afford to pay them anymore, because Epic refuses to listen to its consumers? This dude is legitimately one of the worst CEOs in the history of tech, and he only exists at the top because of Fortnite and the industry's obsession with Unreal Engine. Anyways, Tim Sweeney quote tweets Ryan Fleury and says Steam's rules do explicitly prohibit games from steering players to competing purchase methods, forcing everyone to pay 30% to Valve. Quick question, where the fuck are you getting that, Tim? In case you didn't know, that's not true. Like, that's straight up not true. Steam's rules do not prohibit games from steering players to competing purchase methods. Steam's rules do not force everyone to pay 30% to Valve. There are games that are available on other storefronts for less money than Steam. If you don't want to buy a game off Steam, you can buy a key. And how ironic this is coming from the man who runs the Epic Game Store, a store that is regularly criticized for being blatantly overpriced, despite EGS's whole thing being the fact that they give developers a larger cut of the revenue from their sales. You give developers more money per sale, and yet your service is more expensive. But in case it wasn't clear why Tim is taking this stance and why Tim is either completely incompetent or consciously lying, he got a response from someone named Michael who says 30% junk fee is a wild claim. Steam provides a service to both the player and the developer. The car dealership doesn't also provide the gas or any infrastructure around gas delivery. Gamers happily stick with Steam because it's a good, player-friendly platform. EGS, by comparison, is a buggy mess that lacks features. It's a no-brainer for consumers. And then Tim responds, car makers provide services too. That doesn't mean they get to dictate what you do with the car after you've bought it. Tim, I want to know how you think this is even remotely a counter to what Michael said, and I also want to know why you think it is at all relevant. Car makers do provide a service. They make a car, and you buy the car from them. It is the car maker's job to make you a product you want to buy and to sell it to you in a way that is easy for you to buy. No one is talking about what happens with the car after you've bought it, which also, little irony here, because there are these things called warranties that you can void if you do something with the car that the manufacturer doesn't want you to do, but we'll just not talk about that. I understand you haven't lived like a normal person in like 30 years, but I love this. Look at this big, like very thought out, very specific takedown of EGS and a defense of Steam, and the only thing Tim Sweeney has to say is, well, cars. Tim, it might be time for you to get the fuck out of this industry. Cherry Picking responds to Tim and says, Steam does not force you to do this. In many games that handle an in-game store, you can purchase items via that game's website. I would know, as World of Warships regularly does promotions via their own shop website. Steam absolutely does not force you to do this. Tim Sweeney says, yes, all stores allow this, including Apple, Google, Sony, Microsoft, and Nintendo. What Steam doesn't allow, but Apple and Google now do, is the developer selling you stuff directly from the app using their own payment screens or their own website. Tim, you're wrong. You're just wrong. Is the argument you're making here that Steam doesn't allow you to buy a game, like if there's a game on Steam, you can't buy stuff from the game's store without interacting with the Steam aspect of it? Because that blatant, like, that does happen. That is a regular occurrence. If I have Apex Legends on Steam and I boot the game through Steam, but then I go buy fucking Apex coins on the Apex website, or even through the fucking EA app, that shit's gonna be on the Steam version of my game when I boot the game next. What are you even talking about? Jordan says, why do you choose Steam instead of Windows in this instance? Wouldn't Windows be a better comparison because Microsoft operates that storefront? Tim Sweeney says, good question. Epic versus Apple and Epic versus Google challenge both. That's all this is. That's all this is. He's just a stupid wannabe activist who's riding the coattails of a different activist who's riding the coattails of Valve. That is all this entire thing is. And the fucking balls of the Epic Games CEO to try and ride these coattails specifically instead of just making a better product. I won't mince words here. Tim Sweeney, you make the PC gaming space an objectively worse place to be. And the only reason you are even capable of doing this is because you have Fortnite money. You take Fortnite money, and instead of using that Fortnite money to push the games industry further in any way, all you're doing is trying to legally bully out your competition so you don't have to try anymore and you get everyone's money. The fucking irony of you calling Steam a monopoly and saying Valve is a monopolistic company while you are actively employing tactics to make yourself a monopoly. Look at this Somali wild ass. Put the whole thing in your mouth, Tim. Put it in your mouth. Just put the whole thing in there. Just... And you know what the really depressing part is? That was one of the dumbest things I've ever said. That was one of the dumbest things I've ever done. It's still more intelligent than anything Tim Sweeney contributed to this situation, and he's a CEO. Doofus Club time. Cards. Game with dead people. Nate. Grimsy. Official Drags. Want to cut someone's face with the sharp rock. Guess who just got his motorcycle license? The Gamer 127YT. Blast 1340. Mayo Satsuna. Biscuit 1101. Chris Void. West of Rex. Hentai. Own 6. Slick. Click. Flicks of Blu-ray discs. Delta 169. Baron Von Vaderham. Pop Pingus 97. Unicorn Rocco. Gucci Fan. Toad 2005. To the Biscuit with 3 fucking billet 310 char. AI is slopped with Microsoft. Kush Doug Nixie Smile making the boys. Vastness stole my 9 dozen eggs. Joe, get him. Max V2 Gaming. It's a hard nug life. Nice dude. 1 minute savage. No payout. But help me. I'm losing to a shark and Marvel Rivals. Vector Vintage Audrey. Mechanical Resonance. Sick. Matt Fox 94. Exchange Induction. Bear Brain. Stick Rider. Broken Crayon. Purple Out from the Backing. Jake Spider Monkey 94. Hashtag Biggest Diggest. Schmuffin Shells. The Schmidt. Vast Dennis. Muskie. Big Fudge. Thrash. The Vibe and Odd. Club the Penguin. Jojo 6. Molt Name. Really Zerd. Oracle. Snake, Jimmy Chops, Master Killer, Firestorm 2056, Tom Strolax, and Ono 1818. I got some new 850s, and now I got Audio Orgasms Daily. Ash Shadow Batter 1789. Better Fun Dude, Teaching Rising Arnon for Law, High Partial Mean 8, Volcano Common. Fuck! Snake Eyes 227, MK2396E, X Maka Gamma, Fire Has 105, Take Gaming, Slim Jim, Lord Bowser II, Joe Laughs, Us Moat, Gay Local Adult Without His PC Gamer, Jessica Shepard, Ricky's Power, DT Abby, Xylophone, Doofus from Reds Academy, Korean Steel Angel, Microsoft, Slop, Pilot, Made Me Sit on Sporks, Fuck This, Sip. Cyrus 671, 2X940. Joe, I got the Steam Deck back the other day. Greedy Word 23, Max Chip, Simply Chat, Totally Insane. Oh, Step Joe, you dirty naughty boy. Started Night of Cypher, ML04, and I have a Wolf of Midnight, EKW. Oh my god. Steve Wood Studios, Film Crack, and On Gaming Trick, Brown Thorns, Getting Magan X, Severin Evans, Mrs. Bonnie 3, Skyline for Guanax, Pow Pow, Donnie Weston, Gobby Arnson, Rogue Wings 19, Zach Bain, Kenny K, fucking fuck, Hangman for Heart, Ellen Noble, Frost, By Justice. Mickey Keys, Go Go, So Reus, Talking About on Step 94, Blue Hook, When in Doubt, Face the Wind and Wank It Out, Mr. Jack No Squeak, Jody Peters, Mega Wig Jensen, Mega Advertisement, Jay Garcia, Kip Against, I American Idiot, Harmless Other Chin, Ono's Justin Raid, Retuning Weeks in the Roll, 7 Retro, West Side, JMM, SG, Veg, Griffin, and Kernel, Spike, I'll have them. There's a spork in my butt. Woody, Comma Doofus. That was one of the faster ones I've done recently. That was one of the better ones I've done recently. And how sad is it that that's one of the better ones I've done recently? Okay, toodles.